Hello everyone, welcome to Abid Sexa. I hope you all are doing well. Now we are going to discuss today's most important newspaper articles published on today's newspaper. So let's begin the discussion. Today's first topic is India-EU Free Trade Agreement FTA finalized. So কি হৈছে কালি যেহেতু কালি দিনটোত ইণ্ডিয়া ইউৰোপিয়ান ইউনিয়ন ইউ মানে হ'ল ইউৰোপিয়ান ইউনিয়ন ফ্ৰী ট্ৰেড এগ্ৰিমেণ্ট FTA ফাইনেলাইজ হৈছে কালি চ' ইয়াৰ ভিতৰত কি হৈছে তাকে আমি এতিয়া অলপ চাম ঠিক আছে The mother of all deals finalized at the 16th India-EU summit in New Delhi, ending 18 years of intermittent negotiations started in 2007. So, এই যোনটো deal আছিলে EU আৰু ইণ্ডিয়াৰ মাজত যোনটো deal হৈছে কালি the deal is called as the mother of all deals. Mother of all deals বুলি কৈছে এই ডিলটোক যোনটো ফাইনেলাইজড হৈছে কালি ইণ্ডিয়া আৰু ইউৰোপিয়ান ইউনিয়নৰ মাজত সো কি কৈছে এন্ডিং 18 years of intermittent negotiation এই ডিলটো 2027 পৰা নেগোচিয়েচন হৈ আছে এই ডিলটোৰ কাৰণে 2007 পৰা ইণ্ডিয়া আৰু ইউৰ মাজত নেগোচিয়েচন হৈ আছে সো ফাইনালি yesterday it was finalized. So yesterday it was finalized after 18 years of negotiations, the mother of all deals. Second, economic magnitude covers a combined market for 2 billion people, representing approximately 25% of global GDP and 1/5 of global trade. কি কৈছে যেহেতু ইউৰোপিয়ান ইউনিয়ন বুলি ক'লে আমি কি গম পাওঁ তাতে ইউৰোপিয়ান ইউনিয়নৰ মাজত 27 খন ইউৰোপিয়ান ইউনিয়নত 27 কান্ট্ৰিজ আছে আৰু এই 27 কান্ট্ৰিজৰ যিমান পপুলেশ্যন আছে আৰু আমাৰ ইণ্ডিয়াৰ যিমান পপুলেশ্যন আছে দুয়োটা পপুলেশ্যন মিলাই it will be a big market. It will be a big market of 2 billion. It will be a big market of 2 billion people, representing approximately 25% of global GDP and 1/5 of global trade. Kima represent koribo buli koise approximately it will be representing approximately 25% of global GDP. Global jiman GDP ase tare 25% of GDP it will be representing and 1/5 of global trade. So 1/5 of global trade and 25% of global GDP it will be representing. So it will be a big market. দুয়োখন যেহেতু ইউৰোপিয়ান ইউনিয়নৰ 27 খন নেশ্যনছ আৰু ইণ্ডিয়াৰ যেতিয়া পপুলেশ্যন একেলগ হৈ যাব it will be around 2 billion people, market of 2 billion people. So strategic shield act as a strategic insurance for India, diversifying export markets amid global trade, violating and volatility and potential US-China tariff pressures. So etu eta Indiaৰ কাৰণে strategic shield হিচাপে কাম কৰিব how strategic insurance হ'ব কিছুমান term important হয় it acts as a strategic insurance হিচাপে কাম হ'ব কেনেকে for India diversifying export markets কেনেকে হ'ব diversifying export markets কিয় diversify কৰিব লগা হৈছে amid global trade volatility and potential US-China tariff pressure যোনটো US-China tariff pressure হৈয়ে থাকে হয়নে pressure আহি থাকে tariffৰ US-China tariff pressure and তাৰ মাজতে amid global trade volatility ইমানখিনি war হৈ আছে একেদিনত ইমানখিনি war চলিয়ে আছে past few years so there is global trade volatility and amid this global trade volatility and potential US-China tariff pressure diversifying export market was very necessary and this deal will act as a strategic insurance for India during this time. India's gains. So ইয়াত আমি চাব লাগিব যে এই ডিলটোৰ as a result of this deal আমি কি পাম বা EU এ কি পাব এই যে ডিলটো কৰিলে what India gains and what EU gains. So what India gains? India's gains is 99.5% of exports to EU will face zero or reduced tariffs, notably textiles, leather, gems, and jewelry. Access to 144 service subsectors, mode for mobility for IT, healthcare, and engineering professionals. So কি হব ইন্ডিয়াই কি গেইন কৰিব 99.5% of exports to EU will face zero or reduced tariffs. So 99.5% ইন্ডিয়াই যিমানখিনি এক্সপোৰ্ট কৰিব EU লৈ ইউৰোপিয়ান কাণ্ট্ৰিজ বিলাকলৈ যোনবিলাক ইউৰোপিয়ান কাণ্ট্ৰি ইউৰোপিয়ান ইউনিয়নত আছে 27খন কাণ্ট্ৰিজলৈ ইণ্ডিয়াই যিমানখিনি বস্তু এক্সপোৰ্ট কৰিব তাৰে 99.5% of the export will face zero or reduced tariffs. Zero or reduced tariff নহলেতো কিছুমান এক্সপোৰ্টত zero tariff হ'ব and in some reduced tariffs. So কিছুমানত কমি যাব. Tariffs will be reduced. Notably textile, leather, gems, and jewelry. So, kunkhini specifically kunkhini product ba kunkhini product ekhini hobo textiles, leather, gems, and jewelry. Ekhini bostu textile hok ba leather hok, gems, and jewelry ekhini 99.5% সেই 99.5% যোতে এক্সপোৰ্ট আছে তাৰে ভিতৰত টেক্সটাইল লেদাৰ gems and jewelry are notable that will be facing zero or reduced tariffs. And access to 144 services subsectors 144 the service subsector accessibility pabo so IT healthcare and engineering professional develop mobility it will be helpful. EU's gains. So, a deal to jihetu hoise, it is not like that only India is getting the enukwa nohoy je okol India ইয়াৰ যোনখিনি ফায়দা আছে যোনখিনি ইয়াৰ যোনখিনি হিয়াতি পাবলগি আছে অকল ইন্ডিয়াই পাব তাৰে মাজত EU এও পাব লাগিব হয়নে so it is not like only India is getting the benefits. So what EU is getting? What EU is getting? European Union ki paise? EU's gains. Tariffs on 97% of EU goods reduced to 0% or significantly cut. Machinery, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, etc. So, kita bostut EU is getting reduced or 0% tariffs. নহলে to 0% or reduced tariff paise. Notably, these things, machinery, chemicals, and pharmaceuticals. So 97% of EU goods, jimankhini export hobo India loi EU pora European 27 European countries or pora tare 97% of European goods reduced to zero or significantly cut tariffs. Thik ase cars and spirits, luxury cars luxury car duties slashed 10% to 10% with quotas. So junbila luxury car ase tare 110% or pra 10% le komai dia hoise juntu duty thak lagibo ta juntu duties lagibo yale export yale je heti export koribo তো তাতে যোনটো ডিউটিজ আছিল হেতু 110% বা 10% তলে ৰিডিউস কৰা হৈছে তাৰ কাৰণে কি হ'ব যোনবিলাক লাক্সাৰি কাৰ আছে আমাৰ ইণ্ডিয়াত এতিয়া অলপ আগতে যোনটো দামত কিনিছিলে মানুহে তাতকে কম দামত কিনিবলৈ পাৰিব wine spirit duties reduced to 20 to 40%. So যোনবিলাক wine আছিলে সেই ডিউটিজ বিলাক তা ট্যাক্সেস বিলাক লাগিব লগিয়াখিনি আতে 20 to 40% ৰিডিউস কৰা হৈছে সাৰ্ভিসেস high level access to India's financial, telecom, and maritime sector. Aru jonbilak service ase service in financial, telecom, and maritime sector accessibility basically pabo European Union se. Beyond trade, the strategic pillar. Beyond trade, ট্ৰেডৰ এইখিনি ট্ৰেডৰ এক্সপৰ্ট ইম্পৰ্ট ট্ৰেডৰ সেইখিনিৰ বাহিৰেও বিয়ণ্ড দ্যাট দ্য ষ্ট্ৰেটেজিক পিলাৰ কি ষ্ট্ৰেটেজিক পিলাৰ হ'ব পাৰি চিকিউৰিটি পেক্টছ alongside the FTA both sides inked a strategic defense partnership covering maritime security cyber security and counter terrorism কিহত covering maritime security cyber security and counter security alongside the FTA logote both sides inked a strategic defense partnership for logot kotha patise but they inked a strategic defense partnership covering maritime security tat ki cover ase maritime security cyber security and counter terrorism maritime security counter terrorism and maritime security and cyber security all right the deal is entering the legal scrubbing phase with ratification expected by late 2026 so এই যোনটো deal হল হে legal status to by the end of 2026 it is expected to be ratified by the end of 2026 significance ইয়াৰ গুৰুত্বটো কি ডাইভাৰ্সিফিকেশন যেহেতু আমি এটা ডিল কৰিছো this was an important deal between India and EU so আমি এতিয়া India perspective somehow it was significant ইয়াৰ গুৰুত্বনো কি আছিল আমাৰ ইণ্ডিয়াৰ কাৰণে diversification reduces dependence on US China markets amid global trade fragmentation fragmentation reduce dependence on US and China so এই যোনটো global trade fragmentation হৈ আছে তাৰে মাজত it will help in reducing dependence on US and China markets US আৰু China marketer ওপৰত dependency to কমোৱাত help কৰিব supply chains the integrates India into European value chains integrates India into European value chain. China plus one strategy. What is China plus one strategy? So, those big companies, ki koriba heti China hoy na China plus one. অকল China is a big market China to eri dibo nware kono so China logote jate kiba ইয়াত যদি অসুবিধা হয় মাজতে যেহেতু there are many tensions going with China so China লগত যদি কিবা অসুবিধা হয় পাছলে so that তেওঁলোকৰ যেটা বিজনেস টু শেষ হৈ না যায় তাৰ কাৰণে তাৰ লগতে আৰু বেলেগ জায়গা তেওঁলোকৰ ম্যানুফ্যাকচাৰিং হাব তেওঁলোকে আৰু ডাইভাৰ্সিফাই কৰিব in countries like Thailand তো এনেকাৰ যিমানখিনি আমাৰ সাউথ এছিয়ান কান্ট্ৰিজ আছে বা হেখিনি জায়গাত আৰু চাইনাৰ লগতে আশেপাশে যিমানখিনি প্ৰবেবল কান্ট্ৰিজ আছে তাতে নিজৰ ম্যানুফ্যাকচাৰিং হাব ডাইভাৰ্সিফাই কৰিব সো দ্যাট ইজ চাইনা প্লাস ওয়ান স্ট্ৰেটেজি চাইনাৰ লগতে আৰু বেলেগ জায়গাতো নিজৰ কোম্পানীটোৰ বা নিজৰ ম্যানুফ্যাকচাৰিং হাব তেওঁলোকে ডাইভাৰ্সিফাই কৰিব Viksit Bharat 2047 a major milestone for India's goal for becoming a global manufacturing and services hub. So, our Viksit Bharat 2047 jonto ase je becoming a major milestone of India's goal of becoming a global manufacturing and service hub. Amar jonto goal ase, hoine? Amar jonto goal ase je by 2047 a global manufacturing and services hub. Becoming a global manufacturing and services hub. এই যোনটো গোল আছে এটো ফুলফিল কৰাত it will be helpful ঠিক আছে it will be helpful in becoming a global manufacturing and services hub so the second important article in today's newspaper is UGC Equity Regulations 2026 new anti-discrimination framework. So let's see what was in the article. The University Grants Commission UGC notified the promotion of equity in higher education institution regulations 2026 replacing the previous 2012 framework. So there was a previous framework for UGC in 2026 so 2012 but at the framework already asile published by UGC so recently UGC has notify কৰিছে promotion of equity in higher education institutions regulation in 2026 new কিছুমান rules and regulation দিছে in the new equity in higher education regulation 2026 replacing the previous 2012 framework mandate and enforceable governance architecture to eliminate caste-based and social discrimination across all higher education institutions. So mandate the enforceable governance. Enforceable hobo. So enforceable architecture. It mandates an enforceable architecture to eliminate caste-based caste-based and social discrimination across all Indian higher education institutions. To eliminate to eliminate caste-based and social discrimination across all higher education institutions. All higher education institutions junbila caste-based discrimination hoy ba social discrimination hoy he bilak jate enforceable hoy tar against junbila law ase he bilak jate enforceable hoy tar karone rule notify korise. Key provisions of the 2022 or 26 regulations 2026 er jonto regulation notify kore je UGC e hetuno ki provision dia ase the key provision khini ami sam defining discrimination so a provision to ki a rule to a regulation to a jonto notify korise UGC e tate discrimination mane no ki bujaise ki koise defining discrimination caste based discrimination is defined as unfair treatment based on caste or tribe specifically against members of scheduled tribes, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and other backward classes OBC, SC, ST and OBCs. So here caste based discrimination is defined as unfair treatment. Caste based on the discrimination it is treated as unfair treatment. Unfair treatment boli dhara hobo based on caste or tribe specifically he caste and tribe bilakor against ST, SC and OBCs. So specifically mention korise provision to the OBC, SC or ST against jikono dharonor jodi caste discrimination act hoy ba social discrimination hoy tetia henugwa dharonor rules and regulation hobo hekhini yata mention kora ase. Mandatory infrastructure institutions must establish equal opportunity center and equity committee and mobile equity squads to monitor vulnerable sports. So what we'll have to do, all institutions must establish equal opportunity centers establish koribo libo. They will have to establish equal opportunity centers and equity committee. Equal opportunity center and equity committee and mobile equity stands to monitor vulnerable spots. Support system. A 24-hour equity helpline and equity ambassadors must be appointed to guide students and report incidents. So there will be a 24-hour equity helpline. There will be a 24-hour equity helpline and equity ambassadors. 24-hour equity helpline and equity ambassadors must be appointed. Must be appointed to guide students and report incidents. এই গুটেইখিনি কথা সব students নাজানিবও পাৰে. So there will be a 24-hour equity helpline and equity ambassadors to guide. হয় না কেনেকে কি কৰিব লাগিব এটো ওপৰত সেই knowledge খিনি নাথাকিব পাৰে সব students. So there will be 24-hour equity helpline and equity ambassadors who will be guiding students and report incidents. তেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ যদি কিবা incidents থাকে they will report incidents and guide students. All right. So accountability. Heads of institutions are held personally accountable for implementation. Non-compliance can lead to withdrawal of UGC grants or the removal of the institutions from the official UGC list. Heads of the institutions are held personally accountable for implementation. So junbila head of the institution will be accountable for the implementation of these provisions. So head of the institutions would be accountable for the implementation of this provision. So if they fail to do so, that will lead, if they fail to do so, that will be leading to a withdrawal of UGC grants or the removal of the institution from the official UGC list. So UGC grants ase ba UGC junbila grants ase ba UGC list ase, he UGC official UGC listor pora those institution will be withdrawn. Okay, major controversies and protests. So বহুতৰ মতে এটো হ'ব পাৰে কি হা ঠিক আছে ইমান এটা ভাল provisions আনিছে, ইমান ভাল rules আনিছে against the discrimination of ST SCs or OBCs, caste based discrimination কাৰণে এখিনি আনিছে, but there will যে মানুহৰ provision নানক there will be a এনেকুৱা থাকে যে সেই provision to বা rule to সকলো মানুহৰ কাৰণে beneficial নহব পাৰে বা কিছুমান মানুহে তাত অলপ problem পাব পাৰে. So ঠিক তেনেদৰে ইয়াতো অলপ controversies হৈছে. There will be there are controversies or protests against the provision. So what are the controversies or protests? Let's see. The general category concern. So ইয়াতে যেহেতু specifically mention কৰিছে যে STs, SCs and OBCs, SCs and OBCs, any discrimination against STs, SCs and OBCs will not be tolerable. Like ইহঁতৰ যদি against যদি কিবা discrimination হয় বা social discrimination হয় হেতুত punishable হ'ব. কিন্তু যেহেতু ইয়াত general category কথা mention কৰা নাই, তো they are concerned. Protesters notably at Lucknow University, so news to যেহেতু হৈছে Lucknow University protest চলিছে, argue that the definition of caste-based discrimination is exclusionary because it only recognizes SC, ST, OBC members as potential victims. So তেওঁলোকে কি কৈছে? তেওঁলোকে কৈছে যে it is exclusionary. Caste-based discrimination, a provision যেহেতু দিয়া আছে যে caste-based discrimination, it is exclusionary because it only recognizes SC, ST, OBC members. A provision that only ST, SC and OBCs are mentioned, so it is exclusionary for general category students, members of potential victim. It recognizes ST, SC, OBC members as potential victims. ST, SC, OBC members bilakok only potential victim hisabe yate mention korise, recognize korise, but general category khini ki hobo. So that is why general category members are concerned about this provision. Removal of false complaint clause. A provision of the 2025 draft to penalize the false or malicious complaints was dropped in the final 2026 version. Critics fear this leaves the system open to misuse and creates an atmosphere of fear and distrust. So there was a draft in 2025 UGC draft that ki kora asile, there was a provision to complain malicious or draft to penalize false or malicious complaint. To penalize malicious or false complaint, kiyono bahut manuhe misake enka complaint kori dibo pare. So there was a provision, there was a draft in 2025 to penalize false and malicious complaints. And in 2026 provision, 2026 final version, the complaints was this malicious, the penalized false or malicious complaint was dropped. So in 2026 version, it was dropped, where the false or malicious complaints could be penalized. So critics fear this leaves the system open to misuse or creates an atmosphere of fear and distrust. So fear and distrust এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ এটা atmosphere create কৰিব পাৰে, যেহেতু বহুত মানুহে মিছাকেও কিছুমান false কেছত ফসাই দিব পাৰে. So there is no provision যে এইখিনি আমি সেইখিনি penalize কৰিব পাৰে যে মানুহে যদি মিছাকেও false or malicious complaint যদি কৰে. So those were the reason for the protest and controversies. Legal challenges. A PIL, public interest litigation, has been filed in the Supreme Court challenging regulations 3C. Challenging regulation 3C, claiming it violates Article 14, right to equality by being non-caste neutral. So yet ki koise, there is a PIL, public interest litigation. A public interest litigation has been filed in the Supreme Court challenging regulation 3C of UGC Regulations 2026. The 3C no ki likha ase, 3C likha ase ki any professor or administrator act or fails to act এনেকুৱা কাম কৰে বা কৰিবলৈ নোৱাৰে, কৰিবলৈ ফেইল হয়, যাৰ দ্বাৰা নেকি there is a hostile environment in the institution, যাৰ কাৰণে নেকি hostile environment এটাৰ উৎপত্তি হয় ইনষ্টিটিউচনটোৰ কেম্পাছত, that will be punishable. So হেতু punishable হ'ব. So 3C against SC, ST or OBC members. But tate general category kotha ekku likha nasile. That's why there is a PIL, public interest litigation, being non-caste neutral. Only ST aru SC er karone jehetu provision to ase, being general category kotha ekku koa nai. So it is said that there is this is a non-caste neutral, being non-caste neutral. So eru aru koise that violates article 14 ne ki hoy, right to equality, hoy ne, right to equality mane sob eke, there is no discrimination on the ground of caste, race, religion, sex and place of birth. So etu violate kore article 14 ok. Government stand এই গোটেই প্ৰটেষ্ট আৰু কন্ট্ৰভাৰ্সি খিনি PIL যিমান খিনি যি হৈ আছে তাৰ কাৰণে তো গভৰ্ণমেণ্টে কি কৈছে, তাৰ ৰেসপন্স হিচাপে গভৰ্ণমেণ্টে কি কৈছে? ইউনিয়ন এডুকেশ্যন মিনিষ্টাৰ ধৰ্মেন্দ্ৰ প্ৰধান stated the rules are based on constitutional mandates for marginalized groups or assured there would be no discrimination or misuse against any section of the society. So Dharmendra Pradhan stated that Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan kaise je rules are based on constitutional mandates. Those rules are based on constitutional mandates for marginalized groups like STs, SCs or those backward classes, and assured there would be no discrimination or misuse against any section of society. There will be he stated that there would be no discrimination or misuse against any section of society. Okay, so the third important news article published on today's newspaper was fueling aspirations, India's 500 billion energy investment vision. तो इसमें क्या आहिছিলে न्यूज़त? Energy sector is at center of India's aspirations. PM. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed at India Energy Week 2026 in Goa on January 27. যেহেতু কালি যোনটো ইভেন্ট আছিলে India Energy Week in Goa, in that event Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed that the energy sector as the heart of India's aspiration. India's junkhini aspirations ase tare heart hokolutko important ki boli koise energy sector. The core vision, energy independence. Core vision ki hoy yare? Energy independence, energy independent hua to, energy sector independent hua to is the core vision. Strategic shift. Prime Minister Modi declared that India is moving beyond mere energy security towards the goal of energy independence. What he has stated that India is moving beyond mere energy security to energy independence. Investment and magnitude. The energy sector is projected as a 500 billion investment opportunity across the entire 500 billion investment opportunity across the entire value chain, exploration to petrochemicals. So it is projected that around 500 billion investment would be there in energy sector from exploration to petrochemicals. Global hub. India currently ranks among the top 5 global exporter of petroleum products. So India ranks kimanot top 5 global exporter of petroleum. So India is in the top 5 global exporter of petroleum product and supplying to over 150 nations. So India is among the top 5 petroleum exporters and supplying over 150 nations, 150 national petroleum product supply kori ase, and it's among the top 5 global exporter of petroleum. Upstream, oil, gas and exploration. So upstream means just explore and identifying exploration are done. So investment target, aiming to attract 100 billion in investment in the oil and gas sector by 2033. Is aimed at 100 billion investment in oil and gas sector by 2030 like oil and gas sector. It is aiming that 100 billion dollar will be invested. Okay, geographical expansion, plans to expand the exploration area to 1 million square kilometers. So exploration area say it is plans to expand to 1 million square kilometers. New frontiers. Samudra Manthan mission. Samudra Manthan mission ki asila? Samudra Manthan mission is a mission, dedicated mission for deep sea exploration. So it will also be a new act as a new frontier. Andaman and Nicobar Basin identified as the next major hydrocarbon hope of the country. Next major hydrocarbon hope of the country. Andaman and Nicobar Basin. It is identified as the next major hydrocarbon hope. Downstream, refining and petrochemicals. Refining and petrochemicals ki hoye ase world's refining hub. India currently ranks second globally in refining capacity. So India currently ranks second in globally refining capacity, aims to become number 1 by exceeding 300 mmtpa shortly. Metric million ton per annum. Per annum ki korise 300 metric million ton per annum refine koriboloi aim korise, and it aims to become number one by exceeding 300 million metric ton per annum shortly. Agote kiman asile 260, etia mane juntu hoise 260 metric million ton per annum. India is currently ranked second globally. Etia globally second position ase, and it is aiming to be number 1 by exceeding 300 million metric ton per annum shortly. Competitive advantage. Competitive advantage ki ase? Affordable refining and transportation are being positioned to make India energy export high competitive. Natural gas and infrastructure. Natural gas and infrastructure, gas-based economy, target to increase the share of natural gas in the energy mix to 15% by 2030. Target to increase the share of natural gas in energy. So target korise je increase the share of natural gas in energy mix to 15%. 15% mix kora natural gas mix korar karone target korise by 2030. Indigenization, launch a 70,000 crores shipbuilding program specifically to build LNG transport vessels within India. So these are things that all of apnaluke পঢ়ি থব পাৰে ওপৰবৰিকা reform express. The PM highlighted that the government is riding the reform express using feedback from previous IEW edition to simplify rules, India Energy Week edition to simplify rules and reduce no-go exploration area. ঠিক আছে, এইখিনি অলপ পঢ়ি থৈ দিব আপোনালোকে। Mother of all deals, PM Modi linked energy growth to the newly signed India-EU FTA, noting that it provides a remarkable example of coordination that will stabilize global supply chains and boost manufacturing. So, কি কৈছে এই গোটেই যোনখিনি আমাৰ energy sectoৰৰ লগত expectation of like investment up to $500 billion energy sector dimanখিনি investment hobo major heart of aspirations hua hoise energy sector ei gutei khane logo link korise India EU recently why India EU FTA logo free trade agreement logo noting that it provides a remarkable example of coordination that will stabilize. What will it do? It provides a remarkable example of coordination that will stabilize global supply chains and boost manufacturing. It will boost manufacturing and stabilize global supply chain. So these were the most important newspaper article published on today's newspaper. So I hope আপোনালোকে সেশনটো ভাল পালে। ঠিক আছে, কাইলৈ আকৌ আমি লগ পাম কাইলৈৰ ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট নিউজপেপাৰ আৰ্টিকলছৰ সৈতে। আজিলৈ ইমানেই, ধন্যবাদ।